All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, man, it's the morning after, and these guys are really battling to be on the show today. What legends, man. After a massive night over there around New Jersey, somewhere around there, I live in Australia, UFC 316 happened. Things happened over there, and they're here live back home to join me to react to all that, plus a whole bunch more. We're going to go to this man first. I love that. I love the content that this guy's doing. You saw another piece of Corey Sandhagen this week. Obviously, one of the best guys to do it, cover the sport live. I love this man on a personal level. Look at this. Oscar Willis.
I had in my head I was gonna make a big stink that Brett was introduced first and build first, but then I got introduced first, so it's just like I am the A side now. It's good.
Well, speaking of sides, there is no side to this man that doesn't scream pure sex. I mean, are we here? Are we here to do a show? What are we here to do? What kind of threesome do we sign up to here? He joins us from a golf course because that's just what the Frank Sinatra of MMA does on a Sunday. Wearing a hat backwards because skater boys, see you later, boy. He was the one for me. Look at that. Look at that. He hasn't slept in 24 hours. How do you look that good without sleeping 24 hours? But whose blood are you drinking?
Three of us have been complimenting each other on a sexual level for a long time now, and it's just as hot as it ever was. So,
Really, a decade.
It's been a decade, yeah. We can go back all the way to MSG, the three of us sitting together, and here we are, still doing it.
That's it, man. And shout out to Casper as well, a part of the foursome. I thought Brett was gonna say, like, are we gonna do this? Like, are you guys coming over to my house today? Like, you look like you're like, I've had enough of this foreplay. It's time to get it on, right?
Well, I just appreciate, Dennis, that now as you're doing these live shows, you're basically tripling Brett's workload every year now.
I'm wondering why Oscar and I aren't sitting right next to each other doing this. The last time we crashed your life.
Yeah, we should have just got together. But
one of the greatest appearances in submission radio history during Oscar's birthday for that. Guys, I got to get into it because UFC 316, can't even fucking speak, just finished yesterday. And we got a couple of good results. I want to get to you first, Oscar, just from being on the ground in the media room. Before we even talk about the fights, Dana White made a rare appearance. A rare Dana White popped up out of nowhere. And you had a great line of questioning about Jon Jones. I really loved what you said to him. Didn't let him off the hook on this one. He was kind of hoarse. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know what was happening. But we had to get some answers. A lot of people talking about the fact that Dana White is tuned out, that he's not really focused on the sport. Turns out that he's not aware of the stuff that Jon Jones, the crazy shit that Jon Jones is saying. He's going to speak to someone this week. He was very shocked at a few things that you revealed to him. What was your reaction to the Dana White that we got post UFC 316? Are you surprised that he even showed up?
No, I'm not surprised he showed up. I do think okay, he's not been showing up as much as he was, but I do think some of that is a victim of circumstance. Like he does have now, because he's always so busy, he flies like immediately after the event. So a lot of times his plane slot is booked, and if the events run late, then he just has to go. So I was expecting him. I was a little surprised that he didn't see or hear some of those tweets, because I know Dana does like go on social media and like people send him stuff like that. He'd seen the petition of Jon, obviously. But in terms of like, people are talking a lot about Dana's involvement at the moment. I don't know if I would go as far as to say checked out, but I definitely think he's been presented with a lot of opportunities as his brand has gotten bigger by being linked to the president and all that he's not turning down. And so he's I'm getting the vibe he might be spread a little thin, right? He's got an energy drink to do, then he's got the UFC, and it's just one man can't stay on top of all of that. So that's the vibe I get, is more that he's kind of spread a bit thin at the moment. Whether that will change or get worse with the boxing and stuff like that, I don't know. But I was surprised he hadn't heard any of the tweets I said. I thought he was lying at first, but then at the end of it, I really did believe. But I also think he doesn't really care anymore. I think he's just like, we'll just move on, just keep the machine rolling. I don't think he is shocked and terrified that Jon's not going to fight. I think he's just like, all right, well, we'll find the next guy.
He was also not that impressed, Brett, by the petition, the Jon Jones petition. The petition that got a couple of 100,000 signatures. The petition that had this guy leave a video.
Homie needs to be stripped. He was being a coward.
Brett, do we believe Dana White really doesn't know what's been going on with Jon Jones? And by the way, how good was Oscar with the questioning, right? Like, most people would have backed off. He kept in the pocket, hard body karate, right? 12 rounds.
They get nominated for
14
Journalist of the Year twice.
He does the most fluffiest pieces ever, but then he does the hardest hitting pieces as well. He's really shown his versatility over the last year, which, hey, so proud of you. Happy for you. What was the question? Do we
believe Dana White really didn't know what was
by the way,
going on?
Dennis, we have to know he did not watch the press conference, right? We know that Brett didn't see it.
No. I saw all this. Do I think that Dana White doesn't know? I mean, I don't think that there's just not really a sense of urgency. Like, the thing with Jon is that he just bounces back so much. He changes his public, what he's saying publicly. I think he changes, what he's asking for internally. So I think that, like, in the same way that you just like have that person in your life where you just, that they're going to be all over the place. So you don't invest too much emotion into one certain thing that he does. I mean, am I wrong? That's where I'm at with Jon Jones. Like when he comes out and says something that's rather definitive, I'm like, is this definitive? This isn't definitive. I mean, I felt like the fight was on, it was off, it was on, it was off. I know that Oscar and I talk every day. And we've had this conversation where like, there have been times where we're like, oh, this fight's going to happen. Yes. We're going to see all these press conferences. We're going to see this fight that we really want to see. And then we're like, well, this fight's never going to happen, and we have experienced all the emotions. And I think Dana's just one of us at this point. He's just like, he's experienced all the emotions. And so it's like, when the truth comes out, then we'll all care. But I think he's just getting a little bit of Jon Jones fatigue, quite frankly.
Yeah. I saw some cracks there, Oscar. I don't know. Was I wrong? Like, it was one of the first times where he's not like, this fight is going to happen. Like, this fight is happening. It was the first time where he kind of acknowledged, look, if he's talking that crazy shit, if it doesn't work out, if he wants to vacate, then you can't stop the guy from vacating. Like, he kind of started admitting it might not happen, kind of.
Yeah, it was the first time he's done that publicly. He did also say, though, that this has been part of the process with dealing with Jon for their whole career. So I think maybe part of it is a bit like Brett was saying, he's kind of not really getting invested into the answer until he knows the answer, right? Because presumably they're going to meet with Jon Jones, or if they haven't already, they're going to meet with him and they'll find out very shortly what his final answer is. But until you get that final answer, it is kind of just like, is he fucking around? I have to say, if Jon doesn't fight Tom now, after being quite so vocal in the last 2 weeks, basically, it was a very strange strategy he employed here. Because this whole thing of like tweeting like, oh, I don't have to fight him and stuff like that, only really works if you then do fight him. If you don't fight him, you just look like a guy gloating and enjoying the fact that you're not giving everyone what they want. I don't know how that transitions into like your post-fighting career that you want to like be very popular and use the success you had in MMA parlaying and onwards. I don't know. It's just an interesting strategy. So it would be weird if we've all been expecting him to have been playing this like massive 4D chess move and then suddenly it's like, oh no, he was just being a dickhead to people. It would just be weird,
It's such a Jon Jones thing to do, like where it's like, I could have just vacated the belt, done the GSP, and still people would have been like, oh, Jon Jones, come back. We want to see you back. We want to fight you, Tom, and just let the division go on. But no, I'm going to hold the division ransom. I'm going to pretend I'm coming back for all this time. And then the ultimate troll job in MMA, I'm just not going to show up, right? But Brett, that hurts people's perception of the UFC. I've seen people say they're checking out if this doesn't work out. This hurts Tom Aspinall. This hurts the division. Like, maybe Jon Jones doesn't quite realize how many people he's impacting here with these silly games.
Well, I mean, I don't think he cares, but he should realize who he's impacting, and that is himself, because I do think that, I was having this conversation with somebody actually in Newark, and it was like, fans will forgive you for losing 6 fights in a row. I mean, if you were a fan favorite and you showed up and you did the job and you gutted through, I mean, let's give Jon Jones his flowers. I mean, he had like that Alexander Gustafsson fight, incredible. Like those, running through the gauntlet that he did, and then everything, man. I mean, this guy has given us so many good memories. Let's not lose sight of that. But at the end of the day, we all know. Jon says he doesn't care what we all think of him. I think he cares what we think of him, and I think that he is really shooting himself in the foot, because you can lose a bunch of times. And you can't duck somebody. Like, that is like a cardinal sin in combat sports. And I feel like if he walks away, cool. We've said all along, the guy doesn't owe us anything. But but by dragging it along and kind of almost being like blasé about like, ooh, I'm going to fight him, no, I'm not. Ooh, I'm going to fight him, no, I'm not. Like, I really think he drew so much attention to the fact that he's probably ducking this guy that I think people are going to say, hey, Jon Jones was the greatest of all time, but he definitely didn't want to fight Tom Aspinall. And that would be good enough for a lot of us. We'd be like, oh, I was the greatest of all time. And yeah, at the end of my career, I didn't want to fight that guy. But for Jon, that's going to eat it in. If there's that little kind of extender on the description of his career where Jon Jones was amazing, but he didn't want anything to do with Tom Aspinall, that is going to bother him. So maybe he should stop thinking about like everybody else and think about what he's doing to himself, because I really, truly think that's going to bother him in retirement.
He could, yeah.
I just think, I think on it, he said he did that interview. I don't know when it was filmed, but he mentioned, to be clear, like I don't think Jon's scared of Tom Aspinall. But I do think there might be some truth in that Jon is terrified of like what his life looks like if he actually lost the fight. You know, I actually believe, like he said, he was like, you know, I wouldn't be able to take it. I don't know what would happen to me. Like his personal problems have been apparent, and that's when he was on fucking top of the world. Like if he went and lost to a guy that he's been mugging off, and that everyone's saying you're ducking, I don't know if he thinks he could personally cope with that. So I think there might be a thing that he's just like, it's just not worth what my life looks like if I lost a fight. So that could be it. But as Brett said, should have made that call in the cage in MSG rather than 7 months later or whatever it is.
Yeah, he just fucking things up for himself. And also, like, maybe he needs to lose, right? Like, this winning thing isn't working out for him. Quick question about Dana White before we move on. What do you guys think? Honest opinion on Dana White standing down from running the UFC one day. Do you think if that does happen, does it benefit the UFC to have him as the face of the promotion? I think Dana White, right? Like, he is a bigger name than 90% of the fighters. Like, he's kind of like a Vince McMahon. He walks into a room, things change. And I think having Dana White around is good because, like, let's say these post-fight press conferences, Oscar, you know, Dana White being there helps sort of give us storylines and gives us the reactions and the views and people investing in what's going on. He's almost like a character on the show more so than a promoter. Him disappearing and just having like Dave Shaw there after the fights, that's like one less major name. Like Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, now Dana White's gone. You know what I mean? Like it's one less major name have around. I don't know. What do you think, Oscar? You see the guy when he comes out, that's good, right? Good.
Yeah, I mean, well, just like for business, at this point in time, I'd say Dana's probably the biggest star in the UFC. Without Conor there, I think Dana does better numbers for us than Jon Jones does. You know, so yeah, I personally don't want him to go anywhere. I think in terms of like the question is he running the UFC? I think he's probably at this point more of a figurehead role or a face of the, you know, rather than doing the negotiations and everything. I don't even think he's that long away from admitting that either, to be honest. But yeah, I think he's still much more positive until Hunter Campbell takes that role and starts doing these press conferences and talking himself. Dana's by far and away an asset rather than a detriment.
Brad, I feel like with Dana, he loved the fact that he built the UFC. And when TKO took over, they would do things that the way that they want to do it. We saw like with the WWE and the UFC, they're doing a lot of similar stuff in the way they're running the business, you know, marketing department, things that kind of more stock standard. They're kind of running things to reduce costs. I have a feeling from Dana White that now he's focused on these other businesses because he gets excited about being a part of like growing things and being a part of these big things. I feel like some of that excitement from the UFC now that it's kind of like a standardized machine for TKO is kind of taken away from him, right? I don't know. Like, I don't get that same excitement from him now when he's...
It's a unique situation. And I think when fans say like, oh, the UFC would benefit from Dana stepping down, I don't think they've realized to the extent that he kind of has. And like, he's not involved in the day-to-day. But at the same time, the reason why I say it's kind of weird is that when Dana decides to invest himself and care about something, the entire promotion gets behind it. They still follow his lead. And frankly, a lot of times I feel like his lead has still proven to be correct. Like this guy, when he still cares about something, I mean, sometimes you're like, oh man, Dana's really fumbling this one. And then he's really not. I mean, the UFC is still, is that a cough or is someone disagreeing with me?
No, that's a cough. That's an agreeable
actually
cough. It's an agreeable cough.
That's what you sound like now. I was worried that you were disagreeing with me. Now I'm worried about your health.
Pack a day of submission radio. Go on, Brett.
Yeah, I think that when he cares, he actually steps in and he takes such like that's one thing about Dana is that whatever he decides at 100%. He believes in it 100%. Everybody just falls in line with exactly what he does. And that just benefits the company so much because whether or not you agree with whatever direction the company is going, it's all moving together as in one direction. And no one can say the UFC is not doing well, man. The UFC is as successful as it's ever been.
by the way. Very good point there, Brett. An agreeable cough, lazy bed saying, remind me never complain about the birds when we record again. Brett has a toucan or something in his tree. The man, listen, lazy bed, look at this. The man is joining us from the golf course. He definitely has a toucan, but we all know that's
are you having a beer, Brett? Are you drinking today?
It's Sunday. It's a Sunday on the golf course.
24 hours up at
Should
the
have got
golf
one
course.
myself. Although I did have 3 at the airport this morning at fucking 8 a.m. or whatever it was.
I don't like to drink when I travel anymore. I'd rather just like sleep and not drink. But yeah, when I get home and it's a nice Sunday afternoon on the golf course. So yeah, I'm gonna have a beer.
Hey, let's quickly talk about UFC 316. Sean O'Malley going out to Merab. And obviously we're going to talk about Merab, what's next, this and that. But from the get-go, Sean O'Malley was looked at potentially the next big star of the UFC. People comparing him kind of like, can this guy be the Conor McGregor of the division? We saw some big moments for him in the UFC. You could make the argument now that ultimately now maybe that big run of bantamweight, especially with Merab being such a dominant champion, potentially might be it for Sean O'Malley. Like he'll still have some big fights, some co-main event fights, main events maybe down the track. But for the time being, you know, he's not going to be the face of the division. So in saying that, Oscar, I just want to go to you first, man. Let's say this Sean O'Malley experiment is kind of done. He came into the UFC at a young age. He did what he did. He became champion, beat Peter Yan. He was able to actually beat a lot of the names that we didn't think he could. How would you evaluate it to the expectations that we had from him when he was getting up there and had the huge crowds and was sort of trying to position himself as the next Conor McGregor?
Well, I think the issue is all of the guys we've been dealing with until up to now, basically, have all got the comparison to being the next Conor. And I think it sets them off on like a path to failure. I think obviously O'Malley aesthetically looks like Conor, never hid his association with what he liked about Conor. So I think people started being like, how does his stardom compare to Conor? There is no other Conor. That's just become more and more obvious. But then that also happened with Ian Gary. I feel like he came on the scene, got the comparisons, and then wasn't the star that everyone thought because they're comparing him to this guy that can't be compared to. I think now we're starting to reevaluate our expectation levels, and that's why people are calling Ilia Topuria a star, even though he's not drawing the numbers that Conor did, because I think people have now reset their estimation of what a star should be and what it should draw. I think O'Malley will continue to be one of the more popular fighters because honestly, he's a great fighter to watch, and he's a bit more unique than some of the other guys you see in there. I think he's got some good matchups and stuff like that for him that I think will keep him relevant. But while I understand why he wanted it, and I understand why the UFC wanted it, I do think now maybe an immediate rematch didn't do him a favor because he's in a very awkward situation now. You know, he basically has to hope that this guy who appears unbeatable loses his belt, which would then be most likely to a guy like Umar, right? Which again, same stylistic problem, or try and move up in a division that I think he'd be undersized in. So I think the immediate rematch, while I understand it from a business perspective, probably didn't do him any favors with the result being what it was.
Yeah, man. John Wood was on and he said exactly the same thing. Like ultimately giving him the rematch kind of killed off his run in the bantamweight division now because it's 2 big losses to Merab back to back. And now no excuses for this one. Brett, a lot of people wondering, is 145 next for Sean O'Malley? Obviously some big matchups here. Before you... Don't give me that head shake. Look at this. Look at the 145 division right here. Guys like Josh Emmett, he's already beat Aljamain Sterling. You're telling me you don't want to see a Brian Ortega, a Yair, a Diego Lopez fight with the man? Like there are some potential fights there if he fills out for that frame. Plus, he was talking about the fact that weight cut is killing him, right? Like he was talking about how that weight cut kills him every single time. You're saying you don't want to see him at 145 at all?
Well, first of Dennis, I love you, but you called it an experiment of Sean O'Malley. This was not an experiment. He made it to the UFC championship and won it and happened to lose to the guy who might go down as the greatest bantamweight of all time. That's not some CM Punk experiment. That is Sean O'Malley is a very, very good fighter. And I don't think he stops being a good fighter just because he lost to Merab Dvalishvili, okay, Dennis? So show some respect, okay?
Twice in a row, badly. Continue.
I think he'll hold off on 145 because I do think that, like, even though he would like to stop cutting weight, just like every fighter in the sport would like to, I don't think that he necessarily translates great to 145. I don't think, I mean, the speed is great, but he's not really known particularly for one-punch knockout. He had some, obviously, one-punch knockouts earlier in his career. You guys, I've been talking about this for a while. I think the UFC should make a call to Jose Aldo because there is no obvious fight for Sean O'Malley. But if all of a sudden they announced Aldo versus O'Malley, everybody would forget that O'Malley is like in this rut, and they would be like, oh my God, I want to see Sean O'Malley fight Jose Aldo. And when Aldo came back from his retirement, everybody hated the matchmaking they gave him anyway. So why don't you give the guy a call, because he loves to fight, and I think he'd get up for an O'Malley fight. And then we see what happens. You don't even got to really think about what's going to happen. You just find out what happens, and then you can go from there. But if O'Malley were to like book a fight against Aldo and it was a great fight and then he were to win, then you got options. And then Merab could always lose. You know, I'm not going to throw this guy, say this guy's career is over because he happened to lose to Merab Dvalishvili twice when Merab looks absolutely outstanding right now. You know, I mean, this sport cycles through, and O'Malley still has plenty of fights left if he wants them. So, but I think it would really do him a favor if the UFC tried to get Aldo to come back and fight him right now.
UFC 315, fucking that guy should have fought Jose Aldo, gone out there. Then you set him up, great win. Like you get a little bit of momentum. Who knows? Maybe Corey Sandhagen beats Merab, right? You set up this thing. So dumb. UFC 315, the stupid card, bunch of like dumb shit. Now we're in this position where Aldo's retired. O'Malley is going to go up to 145. I'm sorry, Brett, but it's happening. The experiment is over. It's over. The experiment. Nah. What about Henry Cejudo, Oscar? People are saying maybe it's time to do O'Malley Cejudo, potentially Cejudo's last fight. These guys had a bit of a beef thing.
Yeah.
Is that potentially a fight that you can do in the division next?
That would be because if I've always wanted the Aldo fight like Brett too, so I get that. But if that's not a thing, because Aldo's retired for sure, definitely retired, then I would do the Cejudo fight because I don't think Dana would like Cejudo to win that fight, and I think Sean O'Malley could. So I think it's a good one. There will be a build up to it. There will be an intrigue to it. Past the idea of like, oh, both these guys lost to Merab, they will generate enough interest in it. I think that's the fight to make, and I think could even do that on the UFC Noche, right? I guess.
Hey, that's a great idea. I like that. I mean, let's do that over Yair Volk, right? We don't want to see that fight. Let's do something that matters here, something that we want to see.
You get the impression Dennis is a bit jaded. You get the impression.
Hey, I'm trying to get these guys in the right place. Dana's not around. I'm thinking us three. We could run the UFC one day, right? I'm here. I run the Australian part of things.
Sure.
You guys, there
you go.
Brett organizes fights at the golf course. Hole 9.
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley is back against Jose Aldo. Combine both. Come on. All right. Before Brett tunes out and goes back to his golf, what about Merab's performance? The guy was able to get a submission win over Sean O'Malley. John Wood was on the show right afterwards. He was like, look, I told you guys so. We were building towards this new version of Merab that is now getting to the next level. Brett, do you think we're going to see an eventual evolution of Merab in front of our eyes as champion, where he's going to get more finishes, more dominating performances? Like this is just the start? Or do you believe that, potentially he went out against Sean O'Malley that he was able to basically beat again, and this is going to be, it's just business as usual for Merab? But do you think we see that dominating way for Merab sort of evolutionize as he goes forward?
Well, I think it's hard to finish guys when you're at the absolute top as a champion. But yeah, I do think that Merab is learning. I think he's getting better. So, he went through a lot of decisions in his career. Does that mean he can't start adding finishes? Like, no, he's definitely getting better. I mean, you compare him to 2 fights ago, 3 fights ago. This guy is showing a lot of improvement. And Jon like told me what was going to happen this fight. I swear to God, it was exactly what Jon said. It was exactly what he said. It was like, he's going to be a little competitive, but as soon as 2 rounds goes up, we're going to take him down, and this is going to be completely our fight. We are going to outstrike him. He said that Merab is actually really hard to hit now, that people were used to call Merab chinny, I think, because of the Marlon Moraes fight, right, where Marlon Moraes was clipping him. But Jon was like, it was more that he was just off balance, that he was just kind of like a maniac out there, and he was prone to falling over. Like, he's never had a chin problem, and now he's feeling comfortable in his striking. Yeah, I think he can get more finishes, absolutely, absolutely. But going back to your stupid Sean O'Malley experiment comment, anybody who ever wins the title, if it's not Merab, Sean's right there because they're going to want to fight Sean. Yeah. So like if Corey beats Merab, then how many fights is Sean away? So like that's why I think he sticks at 135. I think it really is his best weight division, And if Merab loses, whoever has the belt is going to be Colin O'Malley, because even though he's down, he's still the biggest name in the division. He still is. So.
Well, that's an interesting fight, though. Corey Sandhagen next. Kind of perfect timing. Like, Oscar, you know the man well. Dangerous in every position. Weaponizes his scrambles, transitions on the ground. His is not a guy that Merab can just kind of go on top of and grind out. Corey Sandhagen's going to be dangerous everywhere. Also a veteran. And I feel like Corey Sandhagen leveled up as well. Like through the experiences that he had in that octagon, this is the perfect time. Like I'm almost like, it's good that it took so long. I'm happy to see him evolve into this spot. What kind of chance do you give Corey Sandhagen here against Merab? It's an interesting fight right here.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm going to just be pro Corey because he's given me 2 interviews in the past month.
I knew if you didn't say it, I was going to say it. I was like, well, Oscar's the biggest Corey Sandhagen fan of all time right now.
That was a therapy session, and then you guys went to the park where he showed you where he slept.
Yeah. So I think, but I agree with you. I actually think Corey is noticeably better. And he's one of those guys who's continued to improve despite like being in the career for so long. I also think he has an interesting advantage of he already fought Umar. So he's already fought that style without having to fight Merab first, if you know what I mean. So he understands like what he's up against and stuff. And I thought in the Umar fight, his sweeps and his defenses on the ground were very, very good. And if you can use that and learn from that, then that would help him in Merab. It's just the cardio thing, right? That's because while Merab is definitely getting better, I thought he beat Sean on the feet, to be honest. I still think he's kind of spazzy and erratic. I think someone like Corey could do really well against that style. It's just basically when you fight Merab, the fight kind of doesn't really matter until round 3 onwards, right? But you really have to bank 1 and 2 to even, get anywhere with it, I think. But for me, it's you would look at Umar and Corey as the 2 guys in that division who I think could give Merab problems. I wouldn't say they're the favorites, but I think Corey presents a very interesting challenge to Merab that's unlike any of the others in the division.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not really that much left. I mean, Merab's gone through most of the guys in the division, right, Brett? Like anybody else out there in the division that you're seeing right now, maybe an Umar rematch, see what happens there. But outside of that, like no real huge challenges. It's out of Corey and Umar right now. Piotr Jan, like, do you think he can change things up, potentially challenge Merab after that first fight? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible, but yeah.
Thanks, man.
It kind of, yeah. Well, no one's gonna get too excited about a Jan fight, unfortunately, because of how the first one went, and like maybe Jan was, and not motivated. Maybe remember Jan went through a period where the motivation was seriously questioned, so. That fight could look different, but you're really asking fans for a lot of belief and a lot of, to buy into the fact that fight could look different. This fight with Corey is definitely, it's the right one. It's the best one. And what makes this one fun is that like, we're all kind of in the same boat of like, well, whoever beats Merab is almost got to finish him. I mean, I almost feel like we came into this O'Malley fight. Well, O'Malley was actually pretty close on the scorecards, 48-47. And then, after this one, I feel like the big consensus is like, oh, it's stupid to try to outpoint Merab. You got to try to knock him out, And Corey even said that. Like Corey backstage was like, how are you going to beat this guy? He's like, oh, I got to knock him out. I got to knock him out, And Corey can do that because Corey is creative and he's unpredictable and he's opportunistic. So I think that's what makes this fight really intriguing for those of us who are paying attention. The UFC is going to. I don't know how you're going to sell this fight because their names aren't the biggest, but it is a very good fight. So I hope that they find a way to sell it because it's a fight worth watching. And Corey will go in with a game plan. Corey's smart, So yeah, I'm excited to see it.
It's fascinating as well because obviously Corey Sandhagen is a guy that's been in there for a while. He's been in there with some of the best of the best. If let's say he goes out there and he does beat Merab here, Oscar. Let's say that does happen. Do you? Brett died. Brett. I
can still hear it.
What happened? The bird got him. Brett.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? I think my phone is overheating. I can't hear you. I think my phone is overheating.
Nah, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Let
me pour this beer on it and see if I can get back in here. Right.
Perfect.
Well, no, I'm going to go inside. I'll try to get back on if you guys can hear me.
Perfect. I'm back on. But we can hear you.
It's almost like you shouldn't sit outside in 40-degree weather playing fucking golf every day.
No,
Go on.
nothing to
What
do with
was your question? Sorry.
Well, it's got nothing to do with the phone overheating. We know the hookers got there early. All right, so let me ask you this. Fuck the question. Let's just move on to the next thing. Patchy Mix. I wanted to get Brett back here for Patchy Mix because he's very sassy today.
And Bellator.
big, dude. Fumbled the bag, right? Put in a position to potentially get the title shot. Came out there. Didn't really go to what he was strongest at, which is his grappling. Decided to stand with Batista. And Batista, man, hitting the Batista bomb. We thought Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to be there, UFC 316, hitting stunners, but Batista was there hitting Batista bombs, killing everybody's expectations. And Patchy's potential run in the UFC, not only did Batista beat him, but Patchy Mix just left a lot on the table in terms of what people were hoping to see from him. People disappointed, people saying that he kind of dropped the bag here.
Yeah.
What was their reaction? I mean, you were there live. Did Patchy Mix really fuck things up here or what?
Yeah, well, I sort of felt a bit like when Pitbull came over, like you need to hit the ground running in the UFC, right? Because people either don't know who you are, because let's be honest, PFL and Bellator, their status in the sport is so much lower than when guys like Chandler and Eddie Alvarez were there, that much less people are just going to know you. You know, you have to be pretty good, like pretty big MMA fan to know these guys now. So you have to hit the ground running, or people think you're a fraud and not ready for the UFC level. I think Pitbull's performance against Zaire, a lot to be desired. I think his next fight will have a lot less interest than, frankly, that one that didn't have that much interest in it either. And I think it's the same for Patchy Mix. And I think a lot of it, like you said, much like the Pitbull fight, a lot of that reaction is based on how confusing the performance is and sort of how just lackluster it was. And I don't know if it's UFC jitters. It's certainly a thing. You've seen it play out too many times for it not to be a thing. But yeah, man, I was sitting there just watching him eating 1-2s over and over again, being like, man, he could try a takedown any time, you know? On the flip side, Batsy's looked great. But I was very confused by it. And I was even like going into the third, his corner were like, we have to get this takedown. And he just never showed any level of urgency. I know it's just a very confusing performance.
And also all fight week, right? He was saying crazy shit.
Yeah, he was jacked up. It was good. It was good stuff. But then I think Mario is pretty good, to be honest, by the way. Like, had quality footwork and boxing that fight. But yeah, man, bit of a drop the ball, I guess you'd say.
But someone in the comment section was saying, "Oh, Batista would beat O'Malley." He probably would. So let's keep him away from O'Malley, man. This guy's just destroying everyone.
I mean,
what do you think?
It's a good fight, right? I think Mario probably would give him problems, but
both standing. I was impressed actually with Mario's stand-up, dude. How crazy was it? He was just landing at will to the body, through the middle of the guard. He looked really impressive out there. No post-fight interview, of course. But what do you think this guy has to do? I think a lot of people still hate on this guy after the Jose Aldo situation, right?
Which is, to be clear, I hated him that night too. But I think it just proves that any attention in the UFC is good attention, because basically if you're unapologetic for it, people eventually go, well, no, I recognize that guy. And eventually they start cheering you. Bryce Mitchell, he said some stuff and he got cheered to the ring. And it didn't take that long. So I think maybe Mario's hated more, but I think all attention's good attention in the UFC, and eventually being recognizable is is the thing that gets you cheered. So we've been to loads of events where the narrative, let's say about Izzy, the narrative was really bad and negative. When a fighter that the fans recognize gets on to the ceremonial weigh-ins, most of the time they get cheered, you know? So eventually I think it'll probably turn around for this guy.
Hey, speaking of craziness and cheering, what was your reaction? Were you cage side when that barricade fell over when Merab was coming out and the fans fell over? Because John Wood was like, dude, I almost shit my pants. Like, it almost fell at our feet. Like, we could have been crushed. It was hard to see on the broadcast. It was quite a significant kind of incident.
It wasn't as bad as the last time it happened in Vancouver. I know that they were able to get the barrier back. I do think I saw a video of some guy's leg going fucking a bit crap, but it didn't slow down anything. Like, Merab did not fucking care at all. You know, Merab was in fact, the security were probably because of that. The security were trying to rush him to the cage, and he made them stop so he could high five everyone's hands and be happy, you know. So he wasn't phased at all. So yeah, but it was. I mean, it's just like how fucking weird is that happened twice? You know,
Dude, it's like
I
almost
wonder
like
if they're going to
magic.
try and do something about that, because it's like it's happened twice, and obviously no big deal. But if the day that happens and it fucking does land on the guy, it's probably
Shit.
catastrophically bad. So I don't know what, like, if you just tell people stop leaning over or what, but yeah.
Yeah, that's insane, man. That's crazy. And it was because John Wood's like, oh, we had a good training camp, and then a guy almost did like a Sabu dive on our head off the top of the thing, right? Like dropped the elbow, it came down.
Yeah.
Fuck. Let me ask you about Kayla Harrison, man. She had a pretty incredible night at the office yesterday as well.
Yeah.
Was able to beat Juliana Pena. I actually thought Pena was maybe going to give her a little bit more of a challenge for a little bit of the fight, but Harrison was able to shut it down, was able to make weight, and spoke about the fact that it basically took the grace of God to make that championship weight.
Yeah.
But she looked great, right? Like, I thought she might slow down because of the cut. She was able to go out there. She was able to dominate. What was your reaction to her performance and the moment that she had in that octagon with Amanda Nunes?
I was surprised. I guess I was quite surprised she got the finish as early as she did.
Yeah.
Pena's very, very tough. I'm not necessarily surprised at the skill difference between them, but I think Kayla had some question marks coming around her because of her last performance in Salt Lake City was kind of underwhelming, right? So I think there was a couple of questions about that. Eventually, she just proved the odd makers right. And we are now at the moment that we were all sort of anticipating we'd get to anyway with her and Amanda. And I thought that moment, their face-off was very good. I thought their complimenting each other was like cool. You know, like I thought it was it's a good way to do a fight like that, where it's just like the best versus the best. Let's see who's the best ever. So I quite liked it. And I think it's I don't know what you do after this fight for that division, but it's so much like it's finally like a women's fight that feels like this is a big deal, you know? And I'm excited for the fight itself. It's a curious, like, stylistic one, but I think for Kayla, I don't know how much longer she can do this 135 thing. I think it's one and done probably for the next one. So we'll see. And then I wouldn't be surprised if she walked away.
Oh, really? You think one more?
Based on the conversation I heard her mum having in the elevator.
What?
I just was in the elevator and she but it was her parents, I think. And I was like, oh, congratulations. I'm totally airing a private conversation. I said, congratulations. They're like, oh, one more. And I was like, two more because Amanda will get a rematch. And then they're like, oh, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they meant at the division or what. Just like, there was just a funny conversation to have. But yeah, I mean, at that point, she's done it, right? She's like, and also she was never even 45. She was a 55 pounder in PFL now. So
insane stuff.
Yeah.
Insane.
So I think it's, yeah, like I saw she did an interview with Full Send, and she was saying like she has to do 6 miles every single day and 8 miles on Sunday. And then she has to have like a super strict diet for like 15 or 12 to 15 weeks. It's no way to live your life, you know? So I think probably a couple more. And then also, if you beat Amanda, get out.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you could probably, because the only thing I was thinking is you could probably go up a weight class, right? Like you can do a rematch with Amanda, maybe a weight class up.
Well, that's what I think.
Chris Cyborg maybe for the follow-up.
I think Dana would rather shoot himself in the head than work with Cyborg again. Complimentary of her, is he not? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Kayla Cyborg thing is a real shame that never happened. But I don't see it happening, you know, unfortunately.
I loved when you mentioned Francis Ngannou to Dana White at the post-fight press conference, and he got this little smirk on his face and the little nod. We've seen it before. He's like, oh, he's talking about Francis, huh?
Listen, I feel like I don't know. It just seems who knows what Francis is doing and stuff. I just think I would love that. That would be the move. If John's not going to do it, like just try and bring Francis in. I think that'd be really cool. Obviously, there are certain people that cross Dana's shit list and never return, and I think Francis is pretty firmly on the other side of that line. So, yeah, I don't know, but we'll see. It'd be nice.
Dude, it's interesting because I feel like they're like, oh, fuck Francis. Like, he asked for like a few extra $1 million. And now Jon Jones is here asking for like $30 million. And they're like, oh, Francis wanted a fair deal, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you compare what's happening now with Jon Jones to Francis basically wanted an extra couple of bucks on the back end here. And by the way, like if he wants extra pay-per-view buys, they don't even draw that much pay-per-view anyway. Like just give it to the guy. Like, we don't want to set a precedent. We don't want to set a precedent. There's a guy asking you for $30 million, bro. He's setting a precedent, I think. No, like what?
I mean, I don't know, because it was interesting as well, right? Obviously, it was reported that Jon asked for that, got it, and turned it down, which is like wild. But Dana said no, he accepted, and they negotiated the deal and stuff. So I don't quite know what happened there. That's interesting to me. Also hilarious that Jon just went to Thailand and went, nah, actually getting fucked up is way more fun than fighting. So, yeah, I don't know, bro. Like I think because this sport moves on so fast, when they do figure out what they're doing with Tom, if it's not Jon and they do Cyril or whatever, I think people will forget this, but it actually has been a fairly ridiculous sequence of events, this, from the very first Jon Stipe fight to the interim to then doing the Stipe fight to now. It's like all been a bit special people deserve special treatment, so obviously Jon should get special treatment, but at some point I think maybe I don't think it would have gone like this 5 or 10 years ago, if Dana was like a bit more younger and a bit like ready to have an argument as much, I think it would have been a bit different.
They're just certain fighters that Dana gives, allowances to. Kevin Holland, for example, fighting in various weight classes. I'll fight at welterweight, then I'll fight at middleweight. We've seen champions being like, I want to move up. I've defended my belt 100 times. They're like, no, you move it up. What do you think you're doing, boy? You go back down to where you belong. Kevin Holland's like, I'm going to the strip club, so I'm going to fight at middleweight. He's like, yes, we have a relationship. We both like Nike shoes. You go where you want to go. By the way, what was your reaction to Kevin Holland picking up a win here over Vicente Luque?
Kevin Holland's an interesting one. He is one of the most like starkly different guys at different weight classes. Like it's interesting. Like at 170, he looks really, really good, and at 185, sometimes he just does not. I do think he's maturing, and I think he's starting to. I don't want to speak for him. I think the Hamzat loss kind of like maybe rocked him a little bit and maybe sort of gave him this like, well, I'm never winning the belt, so fuck it, who cares?
He's trying to be cool. He doesn't want to admit, hey, I got work to do. I'm just here to make money kind of thing.
Yeah, so now I think his performances at 170 should be showing him that actually he has real potential at that weight class. And he said as much, right? I think I'm going to run here. I thought the Colby call out was brilliant. I don't think that's what will happen, but yeah. I mean, Kev, like I was talking about earlier about the recognize the fact people recognize you. People recognize Kevin Holland. If Kevin Holland's on a card, it's a bit like Cerrone back in the day, It's like a guy people recognize, and his fights, for better or worse, like they're usually entertaining. So I think if he racks up a couple of wins, you would see him up the rankings fairly quickly.
I was just going to bring up the fact that this man right here, you can't discount the fact that his losses have come against some of the best in the world. Look at this. So the guy moves up a weight class, fights RDR, Roman Dolidze. Nothing wrong with losing to those guys. Michael Venom Page, that was a decision loss. What about this? This aged well. JDM, decision split loss.
That was a really
nothing wrong with losing to Wonderboy. I mean, you can't. Wonderboy.
I mean, but the only fight I can't really remember some of them. The only fight I remember in that one where it looked like not great was the MVP fight, where he looked like clearly he was just like, fuck, I don't know what to do here. And that was the only one where I felt like he looked pretty outclassed. The other ones, like we're a long way away from the guy who just fucking tanked every round against Vettori, talking shit, Was Vettori right? Was that the one he went mental? Yeah.
Well, the division is interesting though, welterweight, right? Because you're going to be going into a fun fight night. I'm happy that we've got another fun UFC card around the corner, the Kamaru Usman Joaquin Buckley fight. And this fight actually has pretty big implications for the division. We're waiting for Islam and JDM to be announced. I imagine that's going to be later this year. I know they maybe like overseas and Abu Dhabi, or if not, like Vegas side somewhere in October. I know they announced that card before. It's not going to be in Perth. I don't think Islam's coming.
Perth is a fight night.
Perth is going to be a fight. Well, there you go. So that's going to be the next fight. But, oh, my God, what's going on here?
Oh, did he come back?
Look who's back.
Can you just take me audio? I'm driving and I left the course.
Can you add some video, Brett? This isn't 2005.
I'm stunned. I'm stunned you came back. I thought you were just like got bored and was like, I'll figure out a way to get out of this. I'm stunned you have returned.
No, my phone overheated, and I need to leave the course anyway. So yeah, I don't know.
It's like some kind of Brett AI. That's like Brett's like, I have an AI program that goes on the shows now to save me time. We're talking about.
Yeah, sorry, what?
We're talking about Joaquin Buckley and Kamaru Usman. If there's any chance you could turn on your videos so that people stop tuning out, that would be good, Brett. Otherwise, we'll work with what we can. But me and Oscar are talking about how much implications this has for the division. Oscar, I just want to let you finish up here, man. Let's say Kamaru Usman goes out here at 38 years old and 2 years inactive and beats Joaquin Buckley. I mean, what does that do to the division? We've got Ian Gary in there, Sean Brady in there, Shafkat in there. Obviously, these guys are all trying to position for the next title shot after JDM and Islam. Where would this put Kamaru Usman if he's able to pick up this win?
I tell you where, put him in a title shot, mate, because Kamaru versus Islam is probably the biggest fight you can make in that division if Kamaru's back to winning ways. If Kamaru looks really good against Buckley and wins, I reckon you would see if, say, Islam then went on to beat JDM, same manager, I reckon you see that fight pretty quickly, to be honest. And then you just do Sean and Ian Gary in the meantime, and then they can fight the winner of that, and that's how you sort of parlay it out.
And where are we putting Shafkat, you think?
Forgot about him. Don't know. I'll have to think about that.
Brett, I don't know where you are right now. You're driving somewhere, but what do you think? What does your AI program think about the fight? What if Usman wins? Oh, there he is!
Hey.
I mean, you can see me in my car if you want to. I'm actually going to pick up my brother from the airport.
Great.
I didn't know that.
I wonder what he thinks about the fight. But before we get to him, what are you thinking about Usman and Buckley here? If Usman picks it up. By the way, you have a good relationship with Kamaru. If he picks up this win, you think this gets him in this next title shot, like what Oscar said?
This is going
I think so. I mean, how many fights does Kamaru have left? I wouldn't have been surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised if Kamaru had never even came back to this fight. I mean, it's always kind of been, how many fights does he have left? What's the status of his health? I mean, I think everybody, it's been out there that the knee issues that he's had from the wrestling career and the UFC career. So, yeah, I mean, money always plays a factor. So if he wins this fight, but then there's a log jam and they're going to pay him a ton of money to take another fight, then you can't rule anything out. But I would imagine Kamaru Usman goes in there and beats Joaquin Buckley, he is going to expect a title shot, and I would believe the same goes for Buckley. So I don't know what.
Oh, you're saying Buckley? You're saying Buckley gets the title shot, Brady?
Well, I think he'll expect it, whether or not he gets it. I mean, you can never be guaranteed of anything in the UFC, but I believe that the winner of this fight is going to call for the title, and they're going to kind of hold out and be selective in terms of what they're willing to accept afterwards if it's not a title fight.
I mean, what does that do for Buckley, Oscar? Obviously, we're talking about Buck versus Cuck, him versus Ian Gary. That's the big fight right there that a lot of people also want to see. Do you think he fights one more if he beats Kamaru? It feels like there's a bit of a logjam for him to jump in there. Right?
No, I think he will expect a title shot and will probably wait until he definitively doesn't get one. But I mean, I think if you look at his career, he's like beating guys. Now it's like he's beating the old legend, and then usually you would go into a title shot based off that. So yeah, I agree with Brett. I think he probably would expect a title fight. Whether he gets it, obviously. So you got Shavkat, Sean, Ian, and him. I guess Bilal as well. But even Ian just called out Bilal. So it'll work itself out. But yeah, the winner of this one is going to call for a title fight and probably sit around until it's resolved if they get it or not.
It's interesting as well because 38 years old, we'll see where. Look at this man right here.
Get more. Get your try in there. Get your try.
Now I know what the prostitutes see on a Friday night. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this though, Brett. Kamaru Usman, we'll see what he's got left at 38. But if he goes out there and beats a young prime Joaquin Buckley, and you think about that potential fight with JDM if he gets through Islam Makhachev, like you could actually see a pathway here for Kamaru Usman to potentially pick up that belt once again. Like, what do you think about that Usman JDM potential fight if Usman is still a fraction of the fight that he used to be? I mean, he's 38 here.
Yeah, I mean that's the big question. He's had a long career, and again, the the health issues that he's had have not really been super secret. I mean, this guy has had some knee issues, but you know, he's healthy enough to take this fight now, and I don't think anybody is guaranteed. You know, like if Usman is still Usman, then it's just a matter of his health. It's a matter of his motivation. You know, so what's going on? Why are you guys laughing? What's up?
Sorry, you're just cutting out.
You're driving down the fucking highway and it's cutting out every 2 seconds.
No, that's a good point, man. I mean, the division is more interesting than ever when it comes to that as well, Brett. So that's a good point right there. We are looking at a couple of big pay-per-views next as well. We've obviously got UFC 317, UFC 318, UFC 319, all jam-packed here. Oscar, before we wrap up, I want to go to you, man. Is this going to be the beginning of things ramping up here, you think, in terms of people getting back into the sport, watching it again, getting excited about things? I know I've talked shit about the UFC, some of the matchmaking, some of the terrible pay-per-views. I mean, we just got over UFC 316 that maybe didn't have the most star power. Do you think that there's the potential here with, Ilia Topuria winning the belt, Dustin Poirier having an amazing fight, DDP Hamzat actually happening? Hopefully Hamzat makes it. Do you think there's a chance that the sport can actually return to the top headlines, to the excitement that it had sort of, I guess, last year or before this whole thing started?
I obviously hope so. It's definitely, it's definitely a good sequence of events, and it's much needed. I don't like everyone would agree the first half of the year has been pretty lackluster. So it's much needed. I think maybe we've just sort of seen the glory days, to be honest with you. Like, I was looking, like, if you look at some of the fighters who you'd call like the mid-card fighters, just the name value of the ones who exist today and the names of the ones who were around 3, 4, 5 years ago is just very different. I think the ESPN schedule is probably the biggest detrimental factor, just to so many events, so hard to keep track of all of it. I think it just burnt out a lot of people. So I think while this run of events is good, I don't know if it's going to get the sport back to where it was. But what I think might, when we find out the new TV deal and what that structure will look like, I suspect then you'll start seeing the next era and what that would be and what it would look like.
New TV deal, Brett. I know obviously you are the man behind ESPN, but interesting times right now, right? A lot of people trying to debate what a new structure could look like for the UFC and the TV deal. Like, do you reduce the amount of events? Do you do less pay-per-view? Does pay-per-view even matter these days? You know what I mean? It feels like this will kind of formulate what we're going to see in the future from the UFC.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think all of us who are hardcore fans know that the number of events has taken away from the sort of big fight feel. But again, I mean, it's like they're getting offers from, Amazon, Netflix, Warner Brothers. Content is the quantity matters. So I don't think there's any chance in the world that they reduce the number of events. I mean, there's people that want to pay for them. There's platforms that want to pay for them. So, I mean, I guess the good news is that we still see all the fights. They're just kind of watered down across events. That means the live events are not as good as quite as they used to be. But at the end of the day, we're still seeing the fights that we want. It's just, I wouldn't mind seeing less events. And I was never one of those guys that back years ago was like, oh, it's oversaturation. I thought it was okay for a while, even when people were talking about that. But now there's quite a few events out there, man. There's quite a few events, but that's not changing. That's never going to go backwards. I don't see it going backwards.
Did you just drive into a cave?
You live in Los Angeles. Where the airport is. I'm driving through this tunnel.
Yeah,
this is Batman 1989 where he's driving back to the Batcave.
It just was a very stark contrast from the sun to suddenly black, like outside. It was just amusing.
Someone giving a shout out to Merab in the comment section. Yeah, he's killed it. Thanks to the comment. Just quickly as well, before we wrap up, everybody out there, if you want to sign up, you can be a Submission Radio member. I have 9 members, and my mom hasn't even signed up yet, so that might even make it 10 by the end of the week. You don't really get much, but you support the show. There'll be some exclusive video and some sneaky things, some emojis, this and that. So join for that as well. 15% off the Chairman Pro at Manscaped right now with the code word submission. Jump on there. Hey, smooth balls is what Corey Sandhagen needs going into that Merab rematch. So get those today. And We just got the ball. There it is. There, look. We know that Brett has smooth balls. I can almost see.
Wow,
them.
he's actually showing us.
I can almost see them in that shot.
I'm trying to help out the promo right now. Don't say I never did anything for
Thank you so much. And also, if you guys want to have a burner phone, not get caught by the police, Saley is the place to do it. They have a great data plan wherever you are in the world. 15% off for new subscribers. Use the code with submission, say.com/submission. Guys, as we wrap up, I just want to quickly get your last take here. Brett, I know you're picking up your brother, so I want to go with you first. We're at the end of UFC 316. It's come out on the other side. Merab's come out victorious. How would you ultimately rate the event for everybody at home that's watching this? Where does the grade fall for you after what we saw?
I thought the event was great. And I thought that, the added storyline of Amanda Nunes showing up, and even though, I think some people would really like the WWE storyline of like, oh, they hate each other now, like they respect each other, but I think that they're going to come for each other's necks, like when it happens. So I liked that. I like the fact that Amanda's coming in. The sport needed that. And Merab is a monster, man. Merab is an absolute monster. And I'm not as low on Sean after this. I feel like some people are low on Sean, which I get it, like that's how the sport is. You're only as good as your last fight, and in this case, the last two fights. But this was a bad style matchup for him, man. And if all of a sudden
right? The experiment, Brett.
I mean, yeah, the experiment, it was a waste of time. They never should have signed Sean O'Malley. It was after he got the knockout on Contender Series. I don't know why they gave him a contract. The whole thing was dumb. It was stupid. But no.
Someone get Mike Jackson to fight him next, right, Brett?
Yeah, I think Sean's still got some life in this one, man. I mean, geez, let's not write him off yet. He's still young. He's still very talented. It's just like, dude, Merab's great. Merab is really, really, really good right now. So, I think Sean will still be in some big fights. I think he'll still headline some pay-per-views before it's all said and done.
Oscar?
Yeah, I liked it. I actually told someone earlier it was the first event of the year I felt that didn't drag all week, to be honest with you. I mean, not to sound like a cunt. It's just like I think Brett and I even said on Wednesday, like, hey, today was a good day. Today was a good day, right? Like it was a nice return to form, I think. And the fights were good. I think there were way more finishes than I was expecting. Good event. One that I was like happy to come home from. And also it'd been a month since the last pay-per-view, so it's like felt like nice. So yeah, I was actually stoked with it. And I think, Ilya Charles, I drove past the UFC today. They've got the poster up. That's a big thing.
Oh, nice. I think you know what? It moved everything along, put us in a great position for UFC 317. As we wrap up, Oscar, what's coming up on the Mac Life, dude? When is the next sit down with Corey Sandhagen? Is that confirmed?
Probably IFW. I'm going to Atlanta in 2 days. So I flew from the East Coast. And then I go back to the East Coast in 2 days. But other than that, just keeping the truck going, man. Keeping the passion alive for the sport. Just ready to give the fans all the content they want.
Brett, you picking up your brother? What happens after that?
Golf, man. We're golfing this week, and we got a little bit of work for the Usman, and we got some Usman stuff coming out this week. But yeah, enjoying my Sunday, picking up Trev, hitting some golf balls. It's hot in Vegas.
How long is he here for?
Till Friday.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Trev.
Maybe drinks tomorrow night?
Probably. Let's do it.
Well, there you guys. Now you know what's coming up for both of the fellas. There they are. They're two of the best in the game. Oscar Willis, Brett Okamoto. Thank you so much for joining me on Submission Radio Live. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time.